It's Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio live from Huntington, PA. And joining tonight, we've got Jimmy Ty from Hamburg, PA. Chad States from Huntington. Jeff Speck from McAlevey Sport. And Dave Shannon's with us this week. Dave, welcome back. Where are you at this week, man?
Sitting off the Sterretania exit of Interstate 90, just outside of Erie, PA.
Thank God you said Erie, because it sounded like the Ukraine there for a second, man.
Hey,
Anyhow,
way,
welcome back.
Greg, you sound like you're in a barrel.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
you.
Sure why?
Well, you sound like you're in a barrel too, doesn't he, guys? It's sort of like bassy sounding. Yeah. But no, Dave, I'm not in a barrel. I just have a different microphone configuration here.
Break in to roll out the barrel if you wanted to. But.
Well,
Pennsylvania polka.
There you go, buddy. Yeah.
Very good.
Anyhow, hey,
right there.
welcome into the Thanksgiving edition of course, Monday Night Sports Talk. We're here Monday nights, by the way. www.theairnetwork.net, or check us out on TuneIn, free app, download it on the iPad, any mobile device. We'll chat with you. I haven't gotten that number yet, guys. We're still working on it, but we'll have folks call us up. But if you like to Skype us tonight, Skype us at Greg Banks 3. That's Greg Banks 3. We'll talk about anything relating to sports, and I'm sure we'll have some other conversations as well. But let's get started first of all, guys. And Chad, I don't know if you were with us last week, but we were talking a little bit about Penn State football and where they're headed now. I just see this thing between Harbaugh and Franklin happening for the next 10 years as Michigan defeats Penn State 28-16. I don't know. I kind of found it like a lackluster game on Saturday. Chad, you first, and then the rest of the guys can jump in.
Yeah, Penn State had their opportunities, though. They could not finish in the red zone. And, I think the days are numbered for Jim Donovan as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think the heat is really on Franklin to be able to get something done there, because I think a lot of people thought that game was a winnable football game.
Oh, yeah.
With that said, Harbaugh's going to bring – I mean, that guy's one of the top 5 coaches in all of sports in the nation. He's just that good.
Yeah.
Wherever he goes, he wins. And people better be served notice, because he's going to have Michigan high in the rankings for a long, long time.
For a long time. Yeah, and Jeff, as I was watching the game, one thing stuck out in my mind, and, you guys can jump in there if you have something. But, Jeff, more importantly, Christian Hackenberger. Did the guy basically, I don't know, was he feeding into the frenzy at the beginning of the season where everybody said, oh, he's a highly rated quarterback and he's going into the NFL draft high? I'm not seeing it with this kid. I'm sorry, but, I mean, there was something going on Saturday with him, and I'm not sure what it was.
Look, the hype was built up so high after his freshman year, and I think even the commentators on Saturday touched on it, that, who he had there before for his freshman year as a coach is different than what he has there now.
O'Brien,
yeah. That is why Hackenberg went there, because he wanted to get developed as a quarterback and thought that O'Brien was going to be the man to do that for him. And, O'Brien skipped town, and, much credit to Hackenberg sticking around with all the troubles there. But, I don't know. I guess that's going to be the debate, and what he has to figure out. Is it worth coming back? Is he going to gain anything coming back, or just, let's roll the dice and see what the NFL has to offer? Because there definitely hasn't been any great development there since his freshman year, that's for sure.
Right. Jimmy, you have any idea? Go ahead.
I just want to add, whenever, like Jeff said, his freshman year, everybody's talking about, oh, he's going to be a great pro, this and that. Even going into this season, everybody's saying, oh, he's going to be like one of the top 5 picks in the NFL draft when he comes out.
Yeah.
I don't see him at all even becoming a first-round pick. If he's going to go in the NFL, I see Hackenberg going maybe 3rd, 4th round in the draft, backup role just like a T.J. Yates down in Houston or whatnot. But yeah, like the guy said, he went to Penn State through Bill O'Brien, because Bill O'Brien had the NFL,
he had the
before,
pedigree.
And that's what he wanted. And Franklin comes in from Vanderbilt, whole different mindset there. So yeah. I don't really see him as a first round pick or anything.
Dave, your thoughts?
My thoughts on it are I don't know. Does anyone know how is Christian Hackenberg doing academically?
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Well, here's the reason. Here's the reason why I ask the question. And the reason is I saw in the Northwestern game where he seemed to be going along just fine, and it's almost as though he's riddled with ADD. Because he'll be going along fine in a game, completing passes, running the offense, putting big drives together, and all of a sudden, even within one game, all of that changes, and it's like he's a completely different. He looks like a freshman on the field, and that's the reason I asked that question. And one of the biggest things that you have to have under control if you do go to the NFL is the confidence and the knowledge that you need to successfully quarterback a team. It's not all about how big you are and how far you can throw the ball. It's about how you digest the game plan every week and then how you execute it.
Well, I think a lot of that's the Jekyll-Hyde syndrome, only because the offensive line, obviously, they're still having problems there. And, of course, it's going to give them some time to figure it out now, because we know Penn State is not going to go very far this year. They perhaps, could have a winning season, but in fact, we know they're not in the race for the Big Ten. Now, speaking of which, Jeff, you might want to speak to this college football. Big upset, Ohio State beat by Michigan State. I mean, there was probably no better game than that one the other night. Your thoughts on that, and now the Big Ten scenario?
Well, I mean, I can hardly wait for tomorrow night. I mean, I've got my new rankings are out, and of course, Ohio State's gone, and I now think Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, Michigan State. I think one way or the other, Big Ten's going to be a lock here to be in the big dance here on New Year's Eve. And Ohio State, they're bubbling under there. And, of course, people want to kick me because I'm not anti-Notre Dame, but I just, got Notre Dame and Iowa, they're bubbling there at 5-6, and at least in my mind. But that's going to be interesting to see how how those rankings come out tomorrow night.
Well, we'll talk about that further, because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask Chad Ball. We're on the subject of Big Ten. Urban Meyer now and Harbaugh, because I think now we've set up that scenario. Michigan, I believe, plays Ohio State this week, when in fact Ohio State was beat by Michigan State and D'Antonio last week. I think there's a rivalry there cooking, man, that, we saw it happen in the NFL between Belichick and, tonight it's going to play out in the NFL. We'll talk about that later in Rex. But how do you see this thing in the Big Ten now? Ohio State out and Michigan State probably in there, and then that matchup with Michigan this week.
Well, that game's going to be a war. I mean, it's brewed to be a war. As soon as Urban Meyer stepped on campus at Ohio State a number of years ago, he said, "You don't talk about Michigan. That team doesn't exist." Well, now enter Jim Harbaugh in, and we all know what he brings to the table.
Yeah.
He's the cockiest head coach I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And it's great.
Yeah.
This will be an app. This is must-see TV if there ever has been.
Well, you're calling it cockiness, but it's not. I guess we can't really label that quiet confidence, or I mean, I guess he's outwardly cocky to some extent, right? We're talking about Harbaugh now.
I will say this about Harbaugh.
Yeah.
You look at him in the NFL, right? He won right away with the Niners. He
Right.
went to the Super Bowl, right? You bring him to Michigan. He's a Michigan boy.
Yeah.
He hates Ohio State. It's like Chad said, this is, in my opinion, everybody talks about the Auburn-Alabama game, the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
In my opinion, with Harbaugh there now at Michigan, this is a bigger game than Auburn-Alabama now.
I'll agree. Must-see TV, I think.
It is must-see TV.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the college football rankings like Jefferson?
Yeah, let's talk about that next. Now, let's start with Dave on that, and Jimmy, I'll get back to you. Dave, what's the Final Four look in your book? Because Jeff mentioned some names. Clemson, I believe, will be there. My only problem is that Notre Dame thing. They're independent. I don't think they even deserve to be there. But what are your thoughts maybe on the Final Four this year?
Well, I definitely, how can you not like Clemson at this point? The thing that amazes me, and when Jeff brought those up, was Alabama's name.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been a part of the conversation per se.
Right.
Not like in years past when the conversation was dominated.
But they're still there.
And they're there,
yeah.
And that's the whole thing. And it gets back to the head coach and how he's able to put a team together and be able to hold that throughout the course of a season
Right.
and get the results he wants out of his team. So, to be honest with you, and a lot of folks may not like this, but you're probably going to see Alabama playing for the championship again.
Hey, but listen,
And-
listen, Chad, I think even Jeff touched on it. We could see the Big Ten in there. I see where Iowa is, there's 11-0, and then in addition to that, you have, Michigan State. I mean, this is at least vying for the Big Ten. So when you look at, Dave, you mentioned Alabama. They're still hanging in there. Clemson's still in there. Tomorrow night we'll find out who might be replacing Ohio State, whether or not Notre Dame moves up. Real quick, Chad, is there any idea of your Final Four, who you think will be there at the end of the season?
Well, I mean, I think the Big Ten's going to get a representative. If Iowa finishes undefeated, they're locked in. I don't think the committee's going to say a 13-0 team can't be part of that Final
And
Four.
especially a 13-0 team from the Big Ten.
Absolutely. Although they played in the other division, which isn't nearly as ranked as what.
Well, that's the division
Ohio
that Penn State's in.
Michigan,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
right. They're on the opposite side, but I don't think they're going to deny a 13-0 team.
Right.
Michigan State's got, if they win the Big Ten, they've got a great argument. Their only loss is a fluke play to Nebraska.
Mhm.
Other than that, they've beaten a ranked number 3 Ohio State team. They've beaten a number 12 or higher now Michigan team.
Yeah.
They beat Oregon on the road. So they've got some really good wins.
Mhm.
So I think you're looking at Clemson.
Clemson?
I think you're looking at Alabama because I don't see anybody in the SEC touching Alabama.
Okay.
Although Clemson's going to have a game in their championship game. North Carolina's sitting there at 9-1 or 10-1.
That's right, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's going to be that's a good, interesting little twist on their conference game. And let's not forget about the Big 12 here, guys.
Did you mention Baylor at all? Oklahoma.
The Big 12's going to have somebody in this.
Yeah.
If Baker Mayfield is able to be healthy and come back for the Oklahoma State game,
Yeah.
Bedlam is what they call that.
Yeah,
on
it's coming up
Saturday.
this weekend, I think,
The
right?
winner of that game could very well be in the Final Four. Actually, I think if Oklahoma State did some damage last week by
Yeah.
getting crushed by Baylor, so the Big 12 isn't out of this either. I think Notre Dame is really going to be the outside looking in,
Yeah.
just because they don't have the body of work that these other teams do against ranked competition, and that's where their independent schedule
Right.
hurts them.
Okay.
And not to mention, how could you do anything big with Notre Dame after that game Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You only
exactly.
beat Boston College by that much.
Yeah, that's true,
I'm
too.
sorry.
And look bad doing it too, Dave.
Yeah, that was not
Yeah.
impressive at all, man. That was not impressive. But let me ask you this, Jimmy, real quick. Your Final Four, then your thoughts on who will be there at the end of the day as we head into January, because a lot of these teams only have 2 more games and maybe a playoff game or at least a conference game. What do you think?
Well, you look at Clemson; they're going to be a lock right now.
Right.
Another team that'll be a lock because of the name, Alabama.
Yep.
The other lock is going to be whoever wins the Big Ten championship game.
Okay.
If Iowa wins it, they're a lock. If Michigan State wins it, they're a lock. And then you have that, who's the 4th team? If I had to put my team in right now, I would put a Baylor Bear team in.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
would put the Baylor Bears in. They beat an undefeated Oklahoma State. I believe they beat TCU, who was also
They did.
highly
Yeah.
ranked.
Yeah. TCU is
so
actually imploding this time now. They're starting
I
just to
would-
fall apart.
I would put Baylor. It would be Baylor.
The Big Ten rep, also Clemson and Alabama would be there
Yeah,
then.
that-
Right,
that's
but
my
if
pick.
Yeah.
Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, Baylor will be out.
Yeah, that's right.
true,
They
yeah.
would be.
That's
They
true.
would
It all
be.
depends on.
Yeah.
It all depends on that Oklahoma
Right.
State game.
Oklahoma's
So the Baylor
the only
Bear
team.
guys.
Yeah.
They're going
Say,
Chad.
Oklahoma's the only team in the Big 12 that really controls its own destiny at this
Yep,
point.
I was just
in
going to
time.
say that.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. And this weekend, man, I think it all begins to happen. It'll be interesting to watch that. Before we leave the state of Pennsylvania, though, let's talk a little bit about those Pitt Panthers and Narduzzi's job. Over the weekend, Pitt defeated Louisville quite impressively, I thought, 45-34. You know, this Peterman kid, he threw for 4 touchdowns. And they just seem like they're gaining a lot of momentum, and you guys kind of have that affiliation with Pitt, Jeff and Jimmy. So I'll let you start, Jeff, and then Jimmy's impressions.
Well, I'm saying now I was a little disappointed. I think Pitt came out quite flat there in the second half, and
Okay.
we're ready to just mail the thing in. So once again, that seems to be a Pitt problem. That let's play 4 quarters, guys, and I hate the hell out of that end of third quarter,
Yeah.
start of fourth quarter, the celebration. you ain't done nothing yet.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
I hate that. I think that just stinks. It's lousy. That needs to go away. The end of third quarter celebration. Yeah, you celebrate at the end of the game and look like you've been there and done it before. But
By the way,
I'm thinking
somebody in the world that's listening, you got to make a sign up. Jeff Speck just had one of the great signs to take to a football game.
What's that?
You ain't done nothing.
You ain't
yet.
done nothing yet. Hey, so Jeff, next time your son goes out there wearing that banana costume, have him hold that sign.
He was out there this weekend in Civvies. He had some Heisman candidates from Pitt was on his sign, and he got his picture taken with Rock out there on Saturday. So he was quite thrilled.
In his
I'll tell you,
glory.
I'm excited. This freshman, the running back, and I'm thinking, boy, Peterman, this kid that's freshman over 1,000 yards rushing this year.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking Connor comes back healthy. Good Lord, look out.
And it's because of the change of culture there, isn't it, Jeff? Because I noted that on Facebook, and Dr. Long mentioned something about that as well in one of your postings. I just think now we're seeing the Pitt of old days sort of reviving. I mean, it sort of like reminds me of the old Foge Fazio days, maybe Jackie Sherrill, those kind of guys. And
I think most people around the country, they just threw Pitt out that they were going to have a program, and not much program, but I don't know. It's looking like Narduzzi's the real deal, and hopefully he'll be around. I mean, that's hard to get a program built when you're changing football, and
Look at how many changes they went through before they found this guy. Jimmy, you were going to say about Pitt. You add your 2 cents.
Narduzzi came from Michigan State. Michigan State's known for defense. Pitt's playing excellent defense now.
Yeah.
They're locked for a bowl game. They're probably going to go to maybe the Orange Bowl, maybe or one of them games.
Right.
But still, Pitt is the real deal now. Everybody look for the past 10 years. They were known for basketball. Jamie Dixon, basketball.
Yeah.
Narduzzi came in, changed the culture. Look how many coaches University of Pittsburgh had.
Yeah.
They had a coach who they hired.
Who was that dude they hired that one time, never even got the job?
He got fired 3 days later for sexual assault.
Exactly.
And that's the culture that people thought of Pitt.
But
That's
guys,
what people thought. And now Pitt, the Narduzzi coming in, they're going to get some big-time recruits coming out of the state of Pennsylvania, which we know is one of the best states ever for high school football.
So the recruiting battle is on now, baby. Between he and Franklin.
Deal. Watch out.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Here's what scares me about Pitt, guys.
Yeah, Chad, go ahead.
Is it a stepping stone job?
You think so?
That's what
I don't
scares
think
me
so.
about
Not
Pitt,
with
and I'm not
Narduzzi.
so sure about that. Narduzzi's going to make a name for himself. You've got high-profile universities looking for coaches: Miami, USC, LSU potentially. If Narduzzi is as good as what he appears to be, these guys are going to throw cash at it that Pitt can't do.
Well, yeah, and also remember the conference Pitt's. Yeah, remember the conference that Pitt's in too. So just like that dude that skipped town and went to Kansas, where'd he go? Oh hell, I forget where that guy left for a job, and we haven't heard from him since. But I think part of that, Chad, is because they're in the ACC. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I said I just be careful of romanticizing about Narduzzi that he's not going to become somebody else's coach because he's just moving on to the next job.
Yeah, it's Monday Night Sports Talk here on the AirNetwork.net. We've got Chad States in Huntington and Jeff Speck in McAlevey Sport. Tonight, Erie, Pennsylvania is represented with Dave Shannon in the house, and from Hamburg, PA, that is Jimmy Ty. Hey, Jimmy, I see a video of you. Lucy sitting there sucking her thumb before standing there with you. You want her to just say a real quick hi? That way, then we can get that out of the way because she looks like she wants to do something. I mean,
say hi to everybody.
Say hi. Okay. All right. That's enough said.
World.
Hi, everybody. All right. Hi, Lucy. Hey, listen, let's talk pro football. Monday Night Football tonight. What a rivalry. If it's not even in the minds of people want to see either Rex get his butt kicked or Belichick get beat. Monday Night Football, Pats versus Bills. Who you got, Dave, and why?
I'm going to end up going with the Patriots.
Okay.
And simply because unless there's an injury, somewhere during the course, a key injury during the course of the game. But I'll tell you what, one of the things I've been impressed with the Patriots is they do get these injuries from time to
they've
time.
got a lot of
you
them
get
this year.
receivers that go down, running backs and what have you. And that team always seems to have, Belichick's got somebody on the bench
Reloading,
that
baby.
he can bring in.
Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, and I don't think they're cocky. I don't think they're overly cocky about how they're doing this season and what have you. So I do think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah.
But I do think the Patriots will prevail.
Jimmy, real quick, tonight's game, and they do have a lot of injuries, so how do you think that's going to play out for the Patriots?
Brady, 10 touchdowns against Buffalo. No, but, but for real,
He gonna light him up tonight.
Belichick has Rex's number.
Yeah.
He had it ever since Rex was with the Jets.
Right.
Brady has Rex's number. The only thing Buffalo can do is if LaShawn McCoy gets on a roll, that's the only thing that could stop the Patriots. But it's going to be the Patriots the whole way.
All right. What about all these injuries, Chad? I mean, as Dave alluded to, they do seem to have a lot of them, but it seems like they're able to lock and load. Just like, remember the running back they had that came in last year and he got like 250 yards, and then they benched him the rest of this season, never to be heard again. I mean, that's Belichick's MO, right?
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
I think I just saw him packing groceries up over here at the Y.
Oh, that was him. Okay.
But this is why this game isn't a rivalry. It's only a rivalry in Rex Ryan's mind.
Yeah,
he can't be Belichick. I think he's like 9-4. The Patriots are 9-4 against him all time.
Yeah.
It's because Belichick gets these players to buy into whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's tremendous. As much as I don't like the guy because of his arrogance, there isn't any denying what his coaching ability is to be able to coach players up at the NFL level. It's just tremendous what he does. So, he can take anybody and just mold them in. It's the next man up philosophy at its highest level in New England.
Hey, Jeff.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, piggybacking on what Chad just said there. Tom Brady, I guess we think he's sort of like arrogant, confident, but the guy's really good. And think about this, in light of all the injuries of quarterbacks like Peyton Manning and some of the other guys that are on their way out of the league, do you think that Brady and the Patriots run the table this year and go 16-0? And then we'll talk a little bit about Cam Newton in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to go 16-0, but I can't sit here and truthfully tell you who it would be that's going to knock them off.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be tonight. I mean, as everyone touched on, they just, Edelman's out tonight.
Yeah.
They'll find another.
Is Amendola out tonight too?
No, he's playing.
He's playing. Okay.
He's playing.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem to matter who they put in, and as much as I hate to say it, until someone else steps up and does the job,
they have a system.
Tom Brady's the best in the business, and the best coaches up there because the people. I mean, they respond, they get the job done. How do you argue against it? Even if you don't like it, you're being dishonest if you don't say it's a deadly combination.
And you know what?
I
Go
will
ahead,
say
Dave.
one thing. One last thing on this on the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
You can beat Tom Brady if you can successfully blitz him and have the secondary to cover the receivers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can beat the New England Patriots and Tom Brady.
But I think
there
got
are
too
very
many
few teams that have that combination of both the ability to blitz successfully and have the secondary that's going to be able to cover the receivers.
Yeah, but you know what, Dave?
That's why New England just continues on a roll.
Yeah, but I think what you can do is Brady always has that safety valve, sort of like we have the safety valve with Heath Miller. That's Ben's safety valve. You've got that guy that's working as a tight end. With Brady, he can just throw it off to Gronkowski. He falls 5 yards. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, that guy falls 5 yards and gets you some yardage, just like Heath does. I always say, get the ball to Heath because he can fall 5 yards. So even though Brady is kind of confident, let me say this. He can't even live up to Cam Newton when it comes to doing the whip and the nay-nay, Jeff, because Cam has a dance and Tom doesn't. Of course, Tom has a good-looking wife, so who needs to dance? So let's talk about Cam Newton and his confidence, and do you think that they can finally own that confidence now? I'll start with Chad, and we'll go round-robin with the Panthers because they might run the table, guys.
I'm not going to let them own the confidence until after Thursday.
Okay.
It's a big game.
It's the Cowboys, right?
It's the Cowboys, and Tony Romo's come back.
He's back.
So that helps to legitimize Dallas, a little bit here.
They win one game.
Listen, no, you lose your starting quarterback in the NFL,
okay,
you're toast. And that's just the NFL has become such a quarterback-driven league that it's very difficult to recover when a starter goes down.
Okay,
so they now have their team leader back. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a whale of a football game at Dallas. If they go in there and they win that one convincingly, I'm pretty confident that I'll become very confident as Carolina team moving forward.
Well, here again, I'm looking at the standings now. I'm looking at Carolina, and it says, they might be 10-0. Then I look at the Cowboys, and they just barely might be 4-3. Maybe not even that. I can't see them here. Oh, here they are, 3-7. Okay, and I agree. Tony Romo is back. So what do you got to say about that, Jimmy? And then Jeff, and then Dave.
If you look at the Cowboys right now, with the quarterback situation they had, you had Brandon Wheaton.
Yeah.
He never threw the Dez Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
You had Matt Castle. He never threw the Dez Bryant. Who's Romo's favorite target?
Yeah, you're right.
Dez Bryant.
Yep, you got to get it to
Who's one of the best receivers in the league? Dez Bryant, one of the tallest receivers in the league. Dez Bryant. You put Dez Bryant, and he also likes to throw to Jason Witten.
Right.
Them two guys are weapons. Yeah, their running back situation with Darren McFadden's iffy, but you get the ball to Dez Bryant, you get the ball to Witten.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be really hard for the Panthers to play defense against them. You know, so yeah.
Well, here again,
like everybody says, this is a key game for the Carolina Panthers, and I also like to add, we were talking earlier about Rob Gronkowski, about Gronk.
Yeah, right.
He was drafted in the second round.
Okay.
How many NFL owners right now are kicking their behinds?
Yeah.
Knowing that they passed up on the best tight end in the league.
Yeah. You know who he reminds me of? Any of you guys remember John Mackey of the Baltimore Colts?
Oh, yeah.
You would, Dave.
Yeah.
The rest of them were like, who in the hell is John Mackey? Well,
only one highlight.
Yeah, he was the size of a freight train, and, he was one of those guys. He just kind of laid out there in the middle, and you just threw him the ball, and he got you 10 yards. And that's what Gronk reminds me of. Let me move on real quick here, because I didn't want to belabor the point, but let me get back to Jeff on something. Is Chip Kelly out of here? I mean, after that game with the Eagles, is he going back to college next year?
He is he's toast. It all depends if he wants to, let's see, he's already been, Spurrier decides to get out at South Carolina.
Yeah.
He's being talked about for South Carolina.
Really?
Tennessee, Arizona State.
Yeah.
USC, I think Oklahoma's also mentioned him. But Chip Kelly,
he can't get out fast enough. Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be smart enough to walk out on his own.
He'll sort of be like Spurrier and those other guys that came into the NFL for a minute and then they were gone. You remember that?
It's over.
Yeah.
That was tough yesterday watching that because when the Steelers aren't playing, my Eagles are my backup.
Yeah, I watched that too. Yeah, I did too.
That's a tough watch, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that was real tough.
You talk about a turkey dinner. It was what they played 12:30, the Eagles and the Lions on Thanksgiving. I mean, CBS, boy, did they.
Yeah, but one never knows.
I would like to add, check this stat out.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
The city of Philadelphia pro sports teams in November.
Losers.
You talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, the Criers, the Flyers.
Yes.
And the Eagles.
Yeah.
Not one win.
But Jimmy,
in November.
Before you go any further, though, there is one team that has been winning there. Those are the Temple Owls. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm talking about pro. I'm talking about pro.
Yeah. Hey, okay.
But if you look at the Eagles, remember everybody was talking about Chip Kelly and all his wills and deals. He wanted the Chip Kelly boys in there. He got rid of McCoy and Macklin and what's his name, Nick Foles and all these other players because he wanted his players in.
Yep.
Guess what, Chip? It backfired on you.
Yes, it did. Anybody?
You're on the hot seat.
Anybody else want to add anything before we wrap that up about Chip Kelly real quick? Anybody? Dave?
I don't see the difference between Sanchez and Bradford.
Yeah.
I mean, they just, I don't think they've got the right combination there. no matter which one of those guys are on the
Oh,
field.
that's right, because Bradford's out, and Sanchez came in, and he just looked terrible again. I didn't know. I thought he was in the booth somewhere, like with the NFL2 network or something, you know? I didn't know he was still playing. But
Sorry,
anyhow.
Tebow. They
Yeah.
should have never let go of
Oh,
Tebow.
my. Yeah.
Tebow.
Yeah. Oh, well, he could get a job in the Canadian Football League. Real quick, Monday Night Sports Talk, Greg Banks in the studio. Chad States, Huntington. We've got Jeff Speck, Huntington. McAlevey Sport, actually. We've got Dave Shannon, Erie, and Jeff, my good friend Jimmy Ty, and Lucy in Hamburg, PA. Hey, on Thursday, Turkey Day, you guys, as you're stuffing your gullets, and then you kind of put your hands down your pants, lay back in a recliner, and watch a game with a beer, or you take a nap. Which one of these games are you going to be napping on? Philadelphia at Detroit? Carolina at Dallas.
None.
That's going to be a good. Well, I'm going to be watching that Carolina-Dallas
None.
game now.
I'll be working.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So you're
okay.
out. You're out.
Working 16 hours that day.
All right. Well, buddy, get that double overtime.
Philadelphia, I'm going to eat and watch the Waltons marathon.
All right.
There
Okay.
you go.
There you go. But listen.
Hey, I'm gonna eat and watch the Star Trek marathon on BBC America.
But let me ask you, Dave, we go way back when Detroit and Chicago and Green Bay always played traditionally on Thanksgiving Day. One of those teams. I guess Dallas did there in previous years too. But here, Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers, does that really tickle anybody's fancy?
Oh, that's the one I'm looking forward to. But
That's at
maybe just
8:30.
because- Yep, that's at 8:30 on NBC. Just because they're going to retire Favre's jersey during that game, and the family's back together, and everyone's in love in Green Bay, and I'll probably watch that just for that. But I think the game of the day is going to be Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Now that Romo's back, hey, and Romo, if you want to look at a guy who qualifies as an MVP,
You think?
when he's on the field, they won their first two.
Yeah.
He was gone for 7. They lost 7.
Yeah.
He came back. They win their third game. So I'm thinking Cam and Romo ought to be a pretty good show on Thursday afternoon.
Well, I'll be checking that out then. Meanwhile, it's Monday Night Sports Talk. Hey, we don't want to forget the Steelers had a bye week this week. Ben ought to be rested up, and the rest of the crew as they get set to
Go
take
Bengals.
on Seattle Seahawks coming up on Sunday. That's a late start of a game. Steelers now are 6-4, and like I said, Bengals lost that game last night, so they've lost 2. We'll start with Chad and then go round robin here. What are the Steelers' chances of now trying to maybe? I know they won't overcome the Bengals unless the Bungles lose a bunch, but what do you think their chances are now, Chad?
Well, much better than what they were before, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I actually Pittsburgh's got a game head-to-head against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So if they're able to win that, they close the gap to 1. So all Cincinnati has to do is lose one of those other games. And we're looking at Pittsburgh, if they continue to win out, being tied at the division lead. Baltimore took a heavy blow this week, and we all know that Cleveland is in trouble. So that division's clearly between those two.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh gets a chance to play Seattle at Seattle. This isn't the same Seattle team we've seen in past years.
No, this is a
they're
struggling.
kind of reeling. They're back on their heels.
Yeah.
But with that said, it's also a very dangerous football team as well.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of talent sitting out there. So Pittsburgh really has to get out offensively and show themselves that they can put up points against that Seattle defense that just isn't quite as good as what it used to be. But you really hope that they don't recognize themselves and come alive and like, hey, guys, we're putting this together. We're making another playoff run.
Hey.
It's a very interesting game on Sunday.
Yeah, Dave, I'm seeing that game Sunday as an even match. Even though Seattle's 5-5, I think they kind of play in a tougher division. And then you got the Steelers coming in at 6-4. What are your thoughts on that game coming up Sunday between the Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks?
To a degree, there's a part of me that thinks the Steelers may have a reasonably easy time of it if the defense is able to perform, because the weak spot right now, the decision-making by Seattle's quarterback,
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell is just not making the decisions that he was making when they were, Super Bowl bound. That team is, and I was just sitting here as Chad was talking and wondering about the fact of, is the shine of Pete Carroll worn off in Seattle, or is this team been decimated by free agency? I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not the Super Bowl team that we saw get to the Super Bowl a couple of times.
Yeah.
So,
Jimmy and Jeff, do you guys have any thoughts on this Seattle Seahawks game before we wrap it up on
The Legion of Doom. You got to watch the Legion of Doom with Sherman, with Cam Chancellor. Because right now we know that Antonio Brown's going to be lined up against Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best defensive backs in the league. So what Pittsburgh should just do is just run the ball down their throats.
Okay.
Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to pass on them. But if you have a healthy Ben Roethlisberger, which just 5 weeks helped them out.
Yeah, he should be, yeah.
He should be healthy. I see this Pittsburgh just winning the game, but it's going to be a close game.
It'd be close, yeah. What are your thoughts on that,
I'll tell
Jack,
you what,
as we wrap it
D'Angelo
up?
Williams, too, if he can perform like he has been.
Oh, there's no
that
doubt.
Russian game's not that
That's
far
what I'm
out.
saying.
Hey, and Ben's in there, Jeff, you would agree that he clicks with his receivers. I mean, he's got all those weapons. He's got Antonio Brown, Wheaton, Bryant. I mean, he should be in half decent shape, don't you think?
Oh, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine this coming Sunday. And Seattle's got even more troubles now there with Lynch, probably a sports hernia. He's probably gone and probably has played his last game out there. I would imagine that'll be a good excuse to show him the door too. But Steelers. I think Dave hit on it. I think they may have a route here. And if you watch during those closing moments yesterday with Cincinnati, the quarterback looked like he had that look like he had just lost another. Looked like he'd had a quick entry into the playoffs and was gone again. And, wonder how much that starts to play on the psyche. And maybe Cincinnati starting to second-guess themselves a little bit now. And maybe they've got a sales job on their hands there of, we're 8-2, but I don't know. Some of those faces yesterday were looking pretty downtrodden. Yep.
Yeah, and there's a lot of injuries in the league this year. I mean, Flacco gets hurt on Sunday. Peyton Manning, I don't know, at 39, I'm not so sure he's going to be able to come back. But we'll talk more about that as as we head towards the playoffs here in pro football. Speaking of injuries, Dave, and I want to touch base with you on this because we didn't get a chance last week. Penguins' Mata is out for 3 to 4 weeks with upper body injury. What kind of adjustments are the Penguins going to have to make now? Because obviously, I mean, their defense is suffering somewhat, and they did win a game or two, I believe, over the weekend. But, man, there's nothing to write home about when it comes to the Penguins.
Well, they won 2 leading up to the weekend, and both of them were 4-3. And guess how many goals they gave up again on Saturday? 3.
Tell us, please.
So right now, they're between the defense and whatever you want to say about the guy that's between the pipes, you're giving up 3 goals a game right now. So, that is an issue, and I think it is coming from the defense. And I'm not sure, once again, this gets back to the coaching, and I'm not sure what Mike Johnston is trying to do with the defense. I know they were kind of out of control. We talked about this a little bit last week. Mm-hmm. And Chris Letang, to me, was the surprise because this guy is not typically a fighter and getting into having a lot of penalty minutes called. Penalty box is not where he normally is. And in a stretch leading up to last week's games, he was in the penalty box sometimes. It looked like more than he was on the ice.
Yeah.
And so there is a problem there with the defense. They've lost, and when you lose Mata, what you lose in Ole Mata is the two-way defenseman. He's not only a defenseman, he is also an offensive threat for the team. And that's what you lose when you lose Mata is the offense out of him. To that end, there are guys down at Scranton Wilkes-Barre that are more than capable of coming up and hopefully whatever system it is this guy's using in Pittsburgh doesn't confuse them to the point, where it takes them back a couple of months.
Well, let me ask you this. When that happens in the pros, would the people down in down in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, use the same system, Dave? Sort of like the Pirates use that same kind of system in their minor league?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the idea. You try to get someone who is the head coach who is trying to train these guys to fit into the system.
Yeah.
It was never more evident with the Penguins when Bilesma was the head coach, and they just any injury that team had over the course of time when Bilesma was there, it was literally plug and play. You brought a player up from Scranton Wilkes-Barre and put him in, and it was like they had been there the entire time. And that's a real testament as to how well they were grooming the guys at Scranton Wilkes-Barre.
Oh, great.
So hopefully, he doesn't mess up one of the guys that comes up, because I don't trust him with that. I wouldn't trust Mike Johnston with silly putty.
Well, let me ask you this. Thinking of silly putty, I see when's the Penguins are back on. Are they on tonight, or is that later this week? I just saw I don't have the schedule sitting here in front of me, but I kept thinking maybe they had a game this evening. And but having said that, we'll check that in a minute. Chad, let me go to you real quick, because I just happened to briefly see the Penn State Mat Rats are back on the mats again, the Grapplers. They are, of course, destined to be number one this year. And maybe you can reiterate to our audience here on Monday Night Sports Talk, what makes Penn State wrestling so dynamic? First of all, of course, they have some chumps that they wrestle at the beginning of the season, like Lock Haven, where they beat them 50-0. Then they took on number 4 ranked Ba Tech, and I believe they only lost a few matches to them. Went out this weekend to California, won a couple of matches there, so they're 4-0 already, and plus they've got duels, I think, coming up this weekend. Tell us a little bit about Penn State wrestling, if you will.
Well, here's a stat for you, and anybody who knows wrestling knows that, the takedown is the big stat. That's what you're looking for in any match.
2. Yeah.
Penn State has 119 takedowns on the year.
Mm-hmm.
Their opponents have 10.
Oh.
Okay, let me reiterate that. 119.
Through how many dual meets is that?
That's
10.
4. Well, only 4 so far, Dave.
4. Now listen, here's another stat for you, and here's why that happens that way. They have a kid who's a 3-time PIAA state champ from Kittanning named Jason Knowles. He was taken down in the first few 30 seconds of his match.
Yeah.
He then went on, and then the next 45 seconds secured 7 takedowns in a row.
Oh, he's a takedown machine.
He's a machine.
He's a machine.
They made
They
him
take him
mad.
down, leave him up?
Yeah, that's what he did. The kid
God.
made him mad, and he said, you know what? I'm not going to have any of this. What Cale Sanderson has done has created – these guys are great what they call mat wrestlers.
Yeah.
Oftentimes in high school, what you're going to see is kids that are really good from the neutral position taking advantage of other kids.
Right.
College wrestling is not built to be won at the neutral position. It's built to be won on the mat. And these guys dominate it from period to period, from match to match. And that's what separates them from everybody else in the country.
Yeah.
They are clearly the best dual team out there. Whether they win it in a tournament or not, things break weird in a tournament. But from a dual meet standpoint, they are animals.
Hey, well, I understand they've got nothing but sellouts coming up at Rec Hall. And matter of fact, they're standing room only. I think it's Sunday. They've got a dual meet. And I'd have to check that again because I saw it somewhere online. But Penn State wrestling, again, of course, moving upward towards prominence. Last year, but by design, they weren't ranked number 1, but we already knew that going in. Correct, Chad?
That's correct. He redshirted.
I see Megaludis is back, I think.
Megaludis was redshirted last year. Rutherford was redshirted. Those are 2 secure All-Americans. Plus, they had 3 incoming freshmen that they knew would stand on a podium as well. So, Cale, kind of took the bullet for 1 year, but taking a bullet after winning 4 straight national titles isn't a bad thing, guys.
No.
So,
he had a down year.
The other thing that was funny was they were lamenting on, and this was the other broadcasters, they were saying, hey, look, we've got a huge crowd here. 2,000 people showed up.
Yeah, that was on
They're
the West Coast.
They're going to put 7,000 in Rec Hall, folks.
That's a wrestling. Yeah, that's a wrestling. That's wrestling. We're the hotbed of wrestling, by the way, here on Monday Night Sports Talk on the AirNetwork.net. And by the way, we are emanating from central Pennsylvania. And we're only about 30 miles away from Penn State University, of which we speak. And, of course, I guess we're only like 30 miles away from Altoona, too. So we're living in the hotbed here in rural Pennsylvania where deer season opens on Monday. And, by the way, speaking of which day, Jeff, and I know you probably see deer out there in McAlevy's Fort. And I've seen a couple of them get hit here on 26 by my house.
Well,
but listen to this. There were 96 bears taken on opening day. Hell, I didn't even know it was bear season already.
You see that one guy got a 532-pounder?
Yeah, 533 pounds.
What?
Yeah, this guy, listen to this. I'm reading the paper here. Jonathan Martin of Dudley killed his first bear on the opening day of the season Saturday. He had the bear, which was estimated to weigh 533 pounds, live, checked at the Pennsylvania Armory in Smithfield Township. Hey, bear season and hunting season, anything we can do with a gun, we'll oblige you. So if you're listening and you're with ISIS, ISIL, or any of those other weird naming groups, come on.
Come on down.
Yeah, because it's hunting season.
You would
Hey,
even have to have the day off school for the first day of hunting season because there'd be no kids in school.
I know.
Well,
I
in
know.
Huntington, there's 2 days.
Yeah. and
We get 2
Yeah.
days, Jimmy.
Hey, let me ask you this,
Oh,
Chad, because you got the week off this week. Of course, you're one of those bosses that decides, well, I've got 5 weeks of vacation. I'll just use one now, and then you'll use another one during Christmas. But having said that, when do these kids get out of school for these holidays? Now, will they get off Wednesday and be out till Tuesday, or how's that
Yeah,
work?
my kids are out half a day on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then they don't go back till the following Wednesday.
Wow.
So they're off a full week.
And if it snows somewhere, we could get a snow day in there, too, and not have to go back. I don't.
And on Monday, wherever you go in Huntington County, the big question will be, did you get your deer?
Yeah, get your deer yet.
Whether you have orange on or not, that's the way you get greeted starting Monday.
Yeah, even though it's sports talk, we're real live men from America, and we talk American men stuff. But
Oh,
listen, Dave, speaking of
Hey,
which,
Steve, hold it before
Go
we
ahead.
go too far on these bears. Huntington's Mike Sellers. There's a name we all know.
Yeah, Mike.
He got a bear, I think, on Saturday.
I saw that. He posted that. Yeah. And he got his truck fixed, too, I heard. So, I mean, hey,
got his
congratulations, Mike. You got that deer. And you got that bear. And too bad you didn't have to use your truck.
Yeah, it was his wife who told him how to figure out getting the heater fixed.
Yeah, how about that? You know,
Welcome
and
to
you
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, in Pennsylvania or America, you can go on
Welcome to
YouTube and fix
Pennsylvania.
damn near anything nowadays. And if you have a good roll of duct tape, hey. Hey, but listen, all seriousness aside, getting back to some sports here. Hey, high school football playoffs are underway. And near and dear to my heart, Huntington did not make it to the playoffs this year. So they're getting ready for basketball, boys and girls, and wrestling season. We hope to be a part of that on the Air Network. We are trying to work that out now and work a schedule and get some sponsors. But having said that, real quick, Jeff, 100th season for men's basketball or boys basketball at Huntington. What do you guys have planned now? Of course, some big doings, huh?
Well, we kick it all off here, or tip it off, I guess is the appropriate terminology, on the Friday after Thanksgiving, the following week.
Yeah.
What's that, December 4th.
You're right.
Hussey Mountain will be in town to open up the season for the boys. I think the girls are at Juniata for a tip-off tournament. I want to say that down in Juniata County.
Okay.
And it'll be underway. The boys team this year, they've got a lot of minutes to replace because they over the last 2 years have graduated a lot of seniors who pretty much mandated the court out there. There
Yeah.
were 4 seniors in the starting rotation, and Hudson Speck, who's back this year for his senior year. And this year, at our junior, to tell you how young the squad's going to be, at the junior high ranks, there are no 9th graders on the junior high squad. It's going to be all
Really?
7th and 8th graders. Yep, playing because all the 9th graders got moved to
Moved
varsity.
up, yeah.
So it's going to be a young season. I don't want to say it's going to be a rebuilding season, but you've got a lot of people out there who have a lot of minutes to fill out on the court for the Bearcats, and it is the 100th season. And coming up on January 15th, that'll be the big celebration game, and then the following night banquet down at the VFW, and hoping to have a lot of old Bearcat players and coaches come back for that weekend. Friday night the game, and then going to invite the old timers in if they want to put on some shoes and strap it up on the court. Come out about 10 o'clock Saturday morning and do
Pass
that.
me the ball.
And we'll have the ambulance and coffee and donuts standing by.
Yeah, you better have a defibrillator just handy, just in case somebody can't make
What'd
it.
you play?
You know,
You're a good Bearcat.
no, I'm
What'd
not.
you play?
I was not a pumpkin pusher, Jimmy. I was a mat rat. There's a difference. See, we
And
Yeah.
something really exciting.
We
just
call them
another
pumpkin
sector
pushers.
On that Saturday, after the celebration there, having the guys in on the court on Saturday morning, that will be the first Saturday that the combined Huntington Community Center and Huntington Bearcat gets together, the 5th and 6th graders. The games will be out there, so going to be a great basketball weekend starting on Friday in Huntington there the weekend of January 15th. So
Well, great.
come out and help us celebrate.
Best of luck to the Bearcats, and of course, as they get ready to tip off their season for both the boys, girls, and wrestling. Chad, real quick on wrestling, what's Coach Mike could have coming back this year? It could be another exciting year for him too in wrestling.
This might be the best Huntington dual meet team we have ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm not just joking about that. This could be the very best Huntington dual meet team ever. He is loaded. He's got 2 kids that could be state champs.
Yeah.
And Colin Glorioso, who just committed to Lock Haven University.
Oh, good
and
for
then
him.
Junior Jacob Oliver.
Yeah.
He has, up and down the lineup, he's got maybe 4 or 5 other kids that can make it all the way to Hershey.
Yeah.
This is a very, very loaded Huntington team, and I expect nothing short of them competing for a dual meet state title before this is all said and done.
Oh, man, that'd be fantastic. Wow. Yeah, I tell you what. And this is a long in coming. Of course, they've seen glimpses of state championships in the past. You guys have won, I should say, Huntington's won district duels. And did they ever win? Did they have regional duels and that type of thing, or state duels too?
No, they win the districts, and then they just advance into the state tournament and start moving on from there.
Okay. Well, so we wish them the best of luck, but I remember the founding coach, Coach Elwood Reese, who, of course, is honored every year by his presence by the alumnus, who I believe started in that program. I believe he started that program in 1964, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been 1964. So if there hasn't been a celebration for wrestling, there will be one soon. At least we hope so. Hey, on a personal note, guys, Thanksgiving Day is coming up. There's a lot for us to be thankful for. We have high school playoffs coming up. And I'll throw some names out here, guys. Johnstown takes on Selinsgrove at Shamokin High School at 7 o'clock in the first round of the PIAA AAA Classic coming up on Friday. Meanwhile, Bedford continues on in high school football in Class AA. They'll be taking on Karnes City. And so we've had some District 6 champions crowned over the last few days, including Central, by the way, taking on Juniata at Mansion Park. That'll be for District AA championship coming up this weekend. Now, here's an interesting one. Berlin takes on Northern Bedford at Somerset High School. And then we have the Quad A first round. And, Dave, you might be interested in knowing this. State College takes on Erie McDowell at Clarion. That'll be at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And BG,
McDowell just had a pretty good win against Brashear.
Oh, did they?
Friday to get to that game.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know Dave's in that
don't
area.
Don't forget the single A clash.
Oh, yeah.
Bishop Guilfoyle,
I'm getting to that now.
They are the returning state champ. But don't sleep on Shannon Valley. They have this kid by the name of Eric Scherkel.
Really?
He just tore apart Penn's Manor in the first half last week for over 200 yards. Very, very good. Now,
but
I don't think from a total team effort, Shannon Valley can put it together.
Yeah.
But they've got a very special Division I athlete sitting on that team.
Yeah.
That can hurt BG a little bit here.
Well, BG really hasn't been tested all season, though. They're 12-0. Coach Wheeler, I mean, he sort of like replaces the cogs in his wheels every year. Of course, they won the state championship last year, and I think most people think that they're destined to be there again this season, Chad, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so,
I would agree with that. Yeah. And Central's going to be a very tough out when they make it to the state playoffs here as well.
Okay. Well, on a personal note, real quick, about 5 minutes left on Monday Night Sports Talk on this edition for Thanksgiving. Guys, do you prefer turkey stuffing in the turkey or outside the turkey? We'll start with Jeff and kind of go around robin on that question.
Long tradition, and it was a family, and I can't eat stuffing unless it's been stuffed in the cavity of a bird.
Oh, my God. Okay. All right.
I'm an in-the-bird guy.
You're an in-the-bird guy, Chad. How are you, an in-bird or out-bird? I mean,
I am a stuff that bird, baby.
Stuff the bird. Oh, my God. See, I'm in charge of the bird, and everybody says, well, you got to put stuffing in that bird. And I'm like, hey, I'm not in charge of the stuffing. I'm just in charge of the bird. You know what I mean? Now, Jimmy, you're going to be eating where you work, I assume. Are they going to feed you like turkey or something while you're putting in those 16 hours that day?
We're not going to be eating up at work.
Okay, you're not going to eat there.
So I had my Thanksgiving 2 weeks ago with my family, and I say...
Was it in the bird or was it out the bird?
My tradition at home is it's out of the bird.
Out of the bird. Okay, so you put the stuffing on the side. Yeah, because, it can contaminate the bird. Not everybody wants to eat breadcrumbs, and just, maybe a piece might get on my meat. Now, Dave, having said that, that didn't sound right. A piece might get on my meat. Which will lead us back to a Saturday night conversation, Jeff, in a minute. No, we're not going there again. But listen, Dave, Now,
Yes.
you're like me, single guy, okay, I probably used to hang out at somebody's house and have dinner, and I never made it for myself, although now I'm compelled to be around family, some of the people I can't stand, but I got to be there nonetheless, because guess what? I'm the one that is destined to bring the bird. Now, if I don't show up, I'm out of the family. You know how that works. So, now, what are you going to be doing on Thursday? Are you going to be fishing? Are you going to be eating some bird? And if you do, how do you prefer your stuffing?
Well, all I have left are cousins, so I'm
Okay.
going to visit my cousins, and it's going to be stuffing in.
Okay, stuffing in bird. Okay.
Yeah, in bird, baby.
All right. Well, see,
Now,
I
I'll
don't
take-
feel so bad
I'll
because
take
I'm.
either.
Yeah.
Either are fine, actually.
I mean,
but,
am I so wrong though? Seriously, I gotta clean this bird, and I gotta pull the gizzards out, and I gotta clean it up, and then actually bake it, and then take it to somebody else's house. Shouldn't I be responsible for this stuffing? Come on, seriously.
No.
we'll let you off.
Thank
the
you,
hook.
thank
let you
you.
off, Greg.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, today we made over 130 pies for the Huntington County Drop-In Center, and guess why? Because we're raising money. And Jeff, I just found out today, a part of that money will go to the Huntington Community Center, near and dear to our hearts, of course, if you grew up in Huntington. Ted Arnn and the fine group that had that center open for us, sort of like the Boys Club, for the last, seems like 60, 70 years. It still remains, but I'm sure they can use some equipment. And the other portion goes to the American Cancer Society. So I think we've raised over $1,500, so we'll be splitting that check tomorrow. And Jeff, I think you were signed up for a peach pie.
I am signed up for peach.
Okay.
I've got my $7 or $8 sitting here in front of me.
I'll make that delivery for you tomorrow when I pick that pie up. I'll let you know ahead of time, okay?
Oh,
these-
good enough.
Yeah, because I'm
Are
picking
these
mine up. I'm
pumpkin
going to
pies?
deliver. Well, we have pumpkin. We had peach. We had peanut butter. We also sold cherry, blueberry, yeah, and apple.
Greg, you're making me hungry.
I know. I'm sorry, guys,
Really?
but you know,
It
and it was
isn't bad enough. By the
Yeah,
way, Jeff,
peanut
you have
butter.
to change your Skype profile photo.
what's that?
Because I'm sitting here looking at these Oreos
Oh.
the entire time
Yeah, I
during
am
the
too.
show, and I got to run out and buy some Oreos.
Oh
now.
man, and nothing's better than Oreos and a glass of milk, man. You dunk it in
Oh,
there,
baby.
and hey, can you guys just eat one Oreo? Let me ask you that, Chad, and then you guys can answer that. Can you just eat like one and then just let it go, or do you have to eat like a half a bag? I mean, how's that work?
Of Oreos?
Yeah, of Oreos. Okay,
Oh man, that's half a bag territory.
half a bag. Yeah, I
That's
think
a whole bag territory for me.
did. We
man.
lose? Did we lose Chad?
lost
Is Chad
Jeff.
there? Okay.
I'm on
Jeff.
now.
I'm losing,
Yeah.
guys. Well, I just
I would
lost
say-
Jeff there for a second. Jeff, you
Something
still there?
dropped.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was dunking an Oreo.
Okay, yeah, the question was, Chad, can you, just eat one Oreo, or do you, eat half a bag at a time? I mean, how's that work? So, Chad's not there, or he is there?
I would say,
Yeah.
for myself, Greg,
Yeah,
you got to have the milk.
Yeah.
You got to eat the whole bag.
the whole bag. Okay.
Once you start, you can't stop.
No, you can't. No, you can't. At least
The
I
whole
can't.
Bag.
Yeah.
Whole bag.
I agree with you. Well, anyhow, guys, let's get ready to wrap things up tonight. I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a fine time. Don't overdo it with the turkey and the stuffing. For those of you having it in the bird, hey, good luck. Hey, see you back here next Monday, guy. Thank you.
Hey, by the
All
way,
right.
Penguins are Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Good night. Happy Thanksgiving. I ran out of time.